Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatam Vyasam Tyato Jayamudire Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna devotees. So we're reading today from Canto 3, which is the status quo, chapter 25, which is the glories of devotional service. It's a really nice chapter, and why not? It's glories of devotional service. So we're reading from text 24 today. So we'll get started. Taite sadhava sattvi, taite sadhava sattvi, sarva sangha vivarjita, sangasteshu athate prarthya, sangadosha harahite. Word for word. Taite, te, those very sadhava, devotees, sadhvi, virtuous lady, sarva, all, sanga, attachments, vivarjitaha, freed from, sanga, attachment, teshu, unto them, atha, hence, te, by you, prarthya, must be sought, sanga dosha, the pernicious effects of material attachment, haraha, counteractors of, he, indeed, they. So the translation is, O my mother, O virtuous lady, these are the qualities of great devotees who are free from all attachments. You must seek attachment to such holy men, for this counteracts the pernicious effects of material attachment. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Kapila Muni herein advises his mother Devahuti that if she wants to be free from material attachment, she should increase her attachment for the sadhus, or devotees who are completely freed from material attachment. In Bhagavad Gita, 15th chapter, verse 5, it is stated who is qualified to enter the kingdom of God. It is said there, Nirmana Moha Jita Sanga Dosha. This refers to one who is completely freed from the puffed up condition of material possessiveness. A person may be materially very rich, opulent, or respectable, but if he at all wants to transfer himself to the spiritual kingdom, back home, back to Godhead, then he has to be freed from the puffed up condition of material possessiveness, because this is a false position. The word moha used here means the false understanding that one is rich or poor. In this material world, the conception that one is very rich or very poor, or any such consciousness in connection with material existence, is false, because this body itself is false or temporary. A pure soul who is prepared to be freed from this material entanglement must first of all be free from the association of the three modes of nature. Our consciousness at the present moment is polluted because of association with the three modes of nature. Therefore, in Bhagavad Gita, the same principle is stated. It is advised, Jita Sanga Dosha. One should be freed from the contaminated association of the three modes of material nature. Here also in the Srimad Bhagavatam, this is confirmed. A pure devotee who is preparing to transfer himself to the spiritual kingdom is also freed from the association of the three modes of material nature. We have to seek the association of such devotees. For this reason, we have begun the International Society of Krishna Consciousness. There are many mercantile, scientific, and other associations in human society to develop a particular type of education or consciousness. but there is no association which helps one to get free from all material association. If anyone has reached the stage where he must become free from this material contamination, then he has to seek the association of devotees, wherein Krishna consciousness is exclusively cultured. One can thereby become freed from all material association. Because the devotee is freed from all contaminated material association, he is not affected by the miseries of material existence. Even though he appears to be in the material world, he is not affected by the miseries of material world. How is it possible? There is a very good example in the activities of the cat. The cat carries her kittens in her mouth, and when she kills a rat, she also carries the booty in her mouth. Thus, both are carried in the mouth of the cat, but they are in different conditions. The kitten feels comfort in the mouth of the mother, whereas the rat is carried in the mouth of the cat. Whereas when the rat is carried in the mouth of the rat feels the blows of death. Similarly, those who are sadhava or devotees engaged in Krishna consciousness in the transcendental service of the Lord do not feel the contamination of material miseries, whereas those who are not devotees in Krishna consciousness actually feel the miseries of material existence. One should therefore give up the association of materialistic persons and seek the association of persons engaged in Krishna consciousness. And by such association, he will benefit in spiritual advancement. By their words and instructions, he will be able to cut off his attachment to material existence. A really, really wonderful, elaborate purport by Srila Prabhupada. So we'll quickly uh, invoke auspiciousness by saying the Mangalacharan prayers. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarini. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. So welcome again, dear devotees, to this morning's Bhagavatam discussion. I feel fortunate to have the opportunity to read the Bhagavatam, although I'm completely unqualified, especially this chapter, glories um, of devotional service. So I seek the blessings of my Guru Maharaj and all of you assembled devotees, so I may speak something of some value. So, here in this verse, Kapila Muni is responding to his mother, right? And he's saying that these are the qualities of great devotees who are free from all attachment. So, to look back a little bit, we know that when Mother Devahuti, her husband has left the house, Kardama Muni has left, and she knows that Kapila Muni is also going to be leaving eventually as well, and she's going to be alone. And in her desperation, that has she done enough to to purify herself, right, and get the advantage of the association that she's already had. She asks these questions, right, And we saw in text 7, she asked that I'm very sick of the disturbance caused by my material senses. For because of the sense disturbance, my Lord, I have fallen into the abyss of ignorance. And she basically glorifies Kapila Muni and prays for help, right? Um, if you go a little further below, she says she takes shelter of his lotus feet. And he says that because you are the only person, and she knows that Kapila Muni is the Lord himself, incarnated as her son. So she's saying, you are the only person of whom to take shelter, and you are the axe which can cut the tree of material existence. And therefore I offer obeisances unto you, who are the greatest of all transcendentalists, and inquire from you. And so Kapila Muni, starts to respond from text 13, and he talks about Adhyatmika Yoga, right, which relates the individual soul to and the Lord, right? And it is and it talks about that yoga, which is the ultimate benefit of the living entity. And so it is the highest yoga system. And this verse, it says, is the seed verse, which is expanded in 8 chapters. So chapter 25 through 32 expands on this particular yoga system, the Adhyatmika Yoga, or this particular verse. And then he talks about what are the symptoms of a liberated mind, right? He talks about that from verse 16 to 18. And he says that aham mama, right? That is, that false identification of the body is the cause of so much distress, right? And by giving that up, um, all this there's going to be uh, indifference basically to happiness and distress, is basically what he says. And then in text 19 he talks about devotional service is the only auspicious path. He says devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the only auspicious path to get to perfection. And then he says in verse 20, and this verse has been quoted many times in the last few days, because it was part of the seminar where Nityananda Pran Prabhu had made reference to this verse. So the question is, how does one get to that devotional service, which is the only auspicious path? He answers with text 20, which he says is by the association of the sadhu, right? And we've heard the verse many times, prasangam ajaram pasham atmana kavayo vidu saeva sadhu so krito moksha dwaram avritam. And then he goes on to say, association of sadhus, great, but who are these sadhus? What are their symptoms? Right? From 21 to 23, he explains the qualities, the characteristics, and activities of the sadhu. Because, one can't just follow anybody, right? One has to, recognize who is a sadhu. So, one is in the right path. And I mean, in these days, this age, there are so many fake sadhus. So these verses are so important because one can easily get swayed or influenced by, some fake sadhus in this world. So now we come to this verse, right? Text 24, where he is emphasizing on the importance of Sadhu Sanga. So he says, "O my mother, O virtuous lady, these are the qualities of great sadhus," which he's talked about the past 3 days we've been hearing. These are the qualities of great devotees who are free from all attachment. And you must seek attachment to such holy men, for this counteracts the pernicious effects of material attachment. So, pernicious effects of material attachment. And that is mentioned here as Sanga dosha. Right? So, Sanga dosha. And this Sanga dosha as Prabhupada explains in the purport, is basically the association of with material nature and the three modes of material nature. And Prabhupada has said many times, as have other acharyas that Prabhupada has quoted also, that in Kali Yuga, most of us are contaminated by the tamogun, right? And some of us are contaminated by rajagun, and very few have are in the influence of satyagun. Now the thing is, all three are even satyagun, which is the mode of goodness, that material mode of goodness is all three are contamination. Even satyagun is contamination. Now, of course, rajas and tama is manifested as lust and desire and hankering and greed, right? We know the verse tada rajas tamo bhava kama lobha dayaschay. Now, in Isha Upanishad and various um, verses and purports by Prabhupada, we have heard about this greed, right, and hankering and lust that we are influenced by. And we've heard, a very graphic story is, of course, the bag of grains. If it is left out in the street, a bird will come and take a little bit, whatever it needs immediately, and maybe come back for a little more. But a human being, when we see a bag of grain, we look around to make sure nobody is looking and we'll take the whole grain away. Right? That's the kind of greed and hankering we have. Now, that particular story we may have become immune to because we've heard it so many times. But recently, I heard of an actual incident that happened in Nagpur, which really kind of is shuddering to hear about this. Apparently, an oil tanker had there was an accident. It had either rammed into several other cars, and it was a massive accident, and several people were like badly injured, almost dying. And it seems the onlookers, instead of helping them, or at least most of the onlookers, instead of helping them, this is an oil tanker, right? They were trying to steal the oil from the tanker. So that's where, Kali Yuga, that's where people have come down. And it's all the influence of the material modes, right? The pernicious effects of material attachment that has really brought us down to a really terrible state of affairs. So chapter 14 of Bhagavad Gita, we know talks extensively about the three modes of material nature and how to transcend the modes. Now, I won't go into that. We have little time. So, but in this verse, Kapila Muni is giving a very practical method, right, to his mother to counteract the effects of this contamination that we are like totally doused in. And that was her question as well, right? Because she had said, I'm sick of the disturbance that is caused by my material senses. And because of this, sense disturbance, I've fallen into this abyss of ignorance. That was, that's her lamentation. And so Kapila Muni has given, this very practical solution, which is that Devahuti, Mother Devahuti, should seek out the holy men, right? So seek out these holy men who themselves are free from all attachment. And therefore, if you redirect your attachment to them, then you will be able to, sangas. So the verse says, sangas teshu atha te prathaya sangadosha harahite. So basically, by attachment, by attaching yourself, by seeking to attach yourself to these holy men, your Sanga dosha, that those miseries and the dangers of material attachment will be removed. Now, again, this is practical because, and again, we've heard many times from Prabhupada that it is not possible for us to give up all attachment, to become completely detached and zero attachment, right? Like the Buddhists talk about or Mayavadis talk about. But rather, it is easier to transform our attachment to something bigger and better. And Prabhupada actually, he has given a lecture on this verse as well, and he gives an examples of his American disciples, and he says that they were all attached to various, abominable things, meat eating, intoxication, illicit relations, and whatnot, right? And Prabhupada, you know, told them, I mean, he was not tolerant of those things at all. He told them he has to stop, that they have to, stop this. But how did he do it? He gave them very wonderful replacements. And he talks about, as a replacement to get them detached from meat eating and get them attached to prasadam, he gave them all these wonderful prasadams. Samosa, kachori, gulab jamun, sweet rice. And with all that, they were able to give up meat eating for something that is, much more palatable, right? And slowly, so param drishtva nivartate, right? So giving up something lower for something that is, much higher, for the higher taste, right? And, we all know how a lot of us were first attracted to ISKCON because of the wonderful prasadam that we were able to get. The Sunday Feast program is what brought us in. So in the yeah, so that in the purport in particular, Prabhupada refers to this chapter 15, verse 5. He talks about nirmana moha jita sanga dosha adhyatma nitya vinivritya kama. Let's see, this verse. So the translation of this is, those who are free from false prestige, illusion, and false association, who understand the eternal, who are done with material lust, who are freed from the dualities of happiness and distress, and who, unbewildered, know how to surrender unto the Supreme Person, attain to that eternal kingdom. So Prabhupada in this verse, he is picked up on and he's focusing on that puffed up condition, right? So he's talking about the puffed up condition of material possessiveness. And, all of us have some kind of pride that we have, whether it's our talents, our looks, or, whatever successes we've had in our material life. Um, we are in this Western country of the United States, and we've somehow achieved some success, some wealth. But he says that this puffed up condition, that we have, and that which makes us so possessive of our successes, or what we have, it relates to this material body, and this is temporary, right? And so it is useless, being related, being proud of this and being attached to this, right? And in contrast, he says this moha, right? That the moha of that one is rich or poor, is completely false, right? Because this body itself, he says, is false or temporary. Now, in contrast, a pure soul, that is seeking to be free from this material entanglement, must first endeavor to free oneself from the material modes of nature, right? And a short way to do it is to engage in Krishna consciousness, right? Um, and why and how? Because he talks about how a person, a devotee, who is free from this contaminated state, although he resides within the same environment, this contaminated environment of where Maya Devi is, freely giving out all these miseries and difficulties and challenges that we encounter every day. But a devotee who's free from the contaminated association and who has, directed his consciousness to Maya Devi is not affected by the miseries. The same miseries are there, but one is not affected in the same way as we used to be earlier, or as a person on the street is, right? And Prabhupada gives a very nice example, a very graphic example in the cat, the activities of the cat. So he says that the cat carries a kitten in its mouth as well as a rat. But when one is in Krishna consciousness, one is feels so secure and in the comfort of Krishna's care and protection that no matter what the situation, one still feels comfortable and protected like a kitten in the mouth of a mother cat. Whereas for anyone else, like a rat, for the rat, it is like death blows at every moment. So for anyone else living in this material world and trying to get through on their own, it's just a dangerous place to be in, right? So Prabhupada has actually emphasized that, again and again, that seeking association of persons in Krishna consciousness, that's the only way to make spiritual advancement. Now we have about 3 minutes left, but I want to make a reference, when we're talking about sadhus, we have to talk about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, especially in this month. How Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas in order to deliver the people of Kali Yuga. And he delivered the people of Kali Yuga just by his association in big masses. Right? It is said that when he was going to Vrindavan, and this is in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya, the verse is 164. He says, wherever the Lord visited, crowds of innumerable people came to see him. When they saw him, all their unhappiness and lamentation disappeared. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was just freely giving this, freedom from material contamination and Krishna Prem. And then, of course, wherever the Lord touched the ground with his lotus feet, people immediately came and gathered the dirt. Indeed, they gathered so much that many holes were created in the road. So that's one. And then when he was in Antalila, it also talks about, kind of in a summary, where when this talks about not only did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself personally give, purify people from this contamination, but he also empowered others to do that, right? And Prabhupada actually talks about that in the purport as well. So he said, it's, we read just a few. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was personally present, anyone in the world who met him even once was fully satisfied and became spiritually advanced. And then talks about all these people that came from Bengal, from the 7 islands, and even the planets of the demigods, Gandharva Lokas, Kinkara Loka would go there in the form of human beings to get purification, to be purified and get love for God. And they were all in ecstatic love of Godhead, chanting Hare Krishna, Mahamantra, and dancing. And so by direct meetings, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu delivered the 3 worlds. And some people, this one. Some people, however, were entangled in material activities and could not even go to meet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. How unfortunate. And we should not be in that state, right? So, we must take the association of these devotees and sadhus who come and fortunately visit us as well. Anyway, so to deliver people in regions throughout the universe who could not meet him, now Mahaprabhu was so compassionate, he personally entered the bodies of pure devotees. So he empowered living entities. by manifesting in them so much of his own devotion that people in all other countries also became devotees by seeing those empowered devotees. Right? So in this way, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu delivered the entire three worlds, not only by his personal presence, but by also empowering others. And so Prabhupada, in the purport, he has also basically made an appeal that, you know, in the purport and also in his lectures, he has that all his disciples should also do the same, that each one of them should take this message, and become a sadhu and reach out to the masses, through the ages, even after Prabhupada. And that's what our gurus are doing. And this is actually a message to us as well, because each one of us, as we are making some progress, a little bit of purification, that we should also try to distribute that to the best of our ability. So and act as little purifying agents, right, of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Krishna. So that's all I have, and I went a minute over, but thank you very much for your hearing and attention. Sorry if I misspoke anything. Please add, correct. Krishna.
Thank you, Mathaji. Nice class. So I was thinking about the Sadhu Sanga. I mean, I think you were talking about just by seeing the pure devotees, one will develop that taste, right? So,
And yeah, get freed from contamination, because the pure devotees, because they themselves are free from contamination, they are able to give the instructions, the direction that one should take. I mean, it's like we hear so many times, right, from our guru and Prabhupada, that if you associate with a drunkard, that's where you'll go.
yeah.
Right? You associate
I
with
was
pure
thinking of association in because I mean, we are not becoming so pure. I mean, of course, I'm not becoming so pure. Like, I mean, right? I mean, maybe to some extent it may be there, but it is not there. So I was just thinking it is up to the recipient as well, right? How quickly they're absorbing. So
Yes.
this thing.
No, definitely. We have to seek it out ourselves and, get that, purposefully get that association. It's not, and that does not necessarily mean just by being there, next to them, but absorb from them as well. But, just by being, even by being there, there are effects, right? I mean, we see that when the Maharajas, visit here, at least for some period of time, whether we've paid some attention or not, chanting becomes a little, better, right? We feel a uh, little more maybe purer in a way, a
Hmm.
little more attachment. So, yeah,
Like,
I mean, we're so fortunate, and definitely that's why we should not be like those who, refrain from going to meet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu because they were so entangled in their own material business. Right? So we make all efforts to get that association. I'm telling myself mainly. Okay, if there isn't anything else, we'll stop then. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhaiva cha patitanam papanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Anantakoti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari.